there, and welcome to the Spiral Lab live stream. So happy to have you here. It's just me today. Jesse had some other things that they needed to get done this week. They're renovating a new house, and that is just like so draining and takes a lot of bandwidth and time. So that's what Jesse is doing this week, as well as making a vlog that is going to be published soon. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah, it's just me and you all, and I hope that you will let me know you're there by clicking the like button and leaving me some comments in the chat. And always welcome is our comments in the the regular comment box below after the live becomes a recording. So yeah, tell me who you are, where you're from. And throughout the live stream, please feel free to leave questions, comments, thoughts of your own in the chat. And I will periodically check back and see what you guys have been saying and read them and respond to them. I love this, especially when it can be a conversation. So just a couple of preliminary things. As I said, Jesse has a vlog coming out soon that is about their garden in their new home, which is super exciting. And I had or thought I had a garden vlog coming out soon too, but as I'm going to talk about today, I have decided to quit that vlog for a while. And that's going to be part of the whole conversation I want to have with you today. Olivia is in the house. Nice to see you, Olivia. Thanks for leaving me a comment in the chat. Super appreciated. Let's see. What else is coming up? Oh, well, I am still committed to my weekly vlog schedule this summer. Some of you may have been watching. I have 2 out now, and the first 2 vlogs sort of explain what the series is about, and so I encourage you to go take a look at those. You can find them easily on the Spiral Lab channel. And in addition, my husband Joel and I have just started a new live stream on Sundays that is about food prep and about cooking. We're calling it low spoons cooking. So how to manage in the kitchen when you're disabled, basically, in a nutshell. And we're going to talk both about cooking, but also about disability and like sort of the intersection of the two, and not just cooking, but like feeding ourselves and how to keep ourselves nourished and how to manage that, because obviously it's important, but it's also really hard. So that's Sundays at 2 Eastern time. My vlogs are coming out on Tuesdays, and I'm not sure when Jesse's going to put out their vlog, but I would definitely hit that notification bell if you haven't already, because then you'll get notified when that comes out. Whitney is here. Great to see you too, Whitney. Thanks. Thanks for leaving me a comment. Let's see. What else? I should mention that we have a Patreon, the Spiral Lab Patreon, and you can find that in the description box below. And we would love to have you support this channel through your patronage on Patreon. If you have the means and you think that this is something worthwhile that you would like to support, we would very much appreciate that. And some of the perks of the Patreon include getting early access to our videos, and starting with my next video, there will be a end screen that acknowledges sort of credits, that sort of acknowledges the names of all of our patrons. And then starting in July, Jesse and I are planning on doing a monthly Ask Us Anything live stream just for patrons. So I think the lowest tier is $3, and we would just really appreciate your support. I know a lot of people get a lot out of the Spiral Lab and the work that Jesse and I are doing, and we love doing it. Don't get me wrong. But as of right now, the channel costs more than it brings in. Like we're losing money every month to bring you this content. And we're very committed to it, but eventually we would like to grow the channel and find additional sources of support, both to pay the expenses of the channel, but also just to support me and Jesse and Joel. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today too, because it's all related. Caroline P is here from DDS as well. Excited about this topic today. Great. I'm glad, Caroline. So nice to see all these DDS people. DDS, for those of you who may not know or who may be watching this as a recording later, is Divergent Design Studios, and that is the online community that I'm part of, that is hosted by the Mighty Networks platform. And it's a peer support community with lots of different sorts of peer support events and topical peer support events and body doubling sessions. And it's just a really lovely community where a lot of good things are happening. And if you're interested in joining, there's all kinds of information down in the description box below. But that's a great segue to talk about, to introduce the topic for today. And I'm not going to inflict my singing on you, but you know that song, you've got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em. It's like an old country song about playing cards. And that's the song, that the earworm that I've had ever since I chose this topic, because it feels a little bit like that. Like, you know, life's a gamble and you have to kind of know when you should hold on to your cards and play your hand, and when you should just fold it and give up. And I'm a big fan of doing both. I don't think that there's any moral judgment in either one, but I even when you get to the point where you believe in rest and you know, you've gotten over this like social notion that resting is being lazy, whatever, it's still just sometimes hard to know. Is this a situation where I need to completely rest and stop what I'm doing? Or is this a situation where maybe I need to slow down, take some breaths, assess, but ultimately I need to push through? And so I don't have a perfect answer to this at all, but it is something that I've been kind of paying attention to in my own life for quite a while now. Like, when do I need to stop? When do I need to push through? And I have a few thoughts. And the reason that I'm raising the topic right now is because I am like in it. I am so in the middle of it, in trying to assess in various, I have a lot of things going on, tons of balls in the air. Some of them I have to let drop. Some of them I'm going to try to keep juggling. A couple of them, it's really important that I not drop. And so I just thought I would describe my situation to you and take you through kind of the process of thinking and noticing and paying attention that helps me decide about all those things. I'm going to go back to the chat though. Romy is in the house. Hi, Romy. Great to see you. Kieran Walsh, another DDS member, a newbie but loving it. We're so happy to have you, Kieran. And anyone else who's interested, we would love to have you join. There's lots of information about it. There's a really accessible sliding scale structure in the description below. So if you're at all interested in checking out Divergent Design Studios, definitely go check that out. All right, I need to take a sip. Okay, so what I will say, regardless of whether you're going to quit something or whether you're going to push through something, it's my philosophy, and I'm embracing this more and more and more, that slowing down in various ways is almost always the right thing. Even if you're going to push through, like taking a deep breath, taking some time, slowing things down a little bit in preparation for and as you push through. Like, regardless of whether you are taking a total break and literally getting in bed for a few days, which I'm a big believer in, or you're going to muster your resources and gather your support and push through. Either way, I am not advocating like this sort of grind culture, this sort of like, I don't know, just like put your nose to the grindstone, that whole Protestant work ethic thing. I'm so not into that, and I'm not advocating that at all. So probably my version of pushing through, like to people who are really in that culture and really embrace it and believe in it and advocate for it, my version of pushing through probably doesn't look at all like their version. All right. So I just wanted to note that I really believe in slowing down in whatever ways you can, even when you're sort of trying to garner your energy and your resources and your support to push through with a project. And some of the ways that I'm doing that right now, because as I said, I'm in the thick of this. I have some things that I'm just having to let go and other things that I really have to push through. And I'm making sort of constant decisions about it, like on the fly, ongoing. But I'm also just trying to create a little bit more calm and space in my life, so that I can even make those decisions, and even notice. Like a lot of knowing what is right for you is kind of noticing what's going on in your body. What's your anxiety level? What is shame doing? And if you're so in a tizzy, if you're so in a spiral, a downward negative spiral, it's really hard to even notice those things, much less kind of incorporate that information, that data into your own kind of analysis and decision making. So a couple of things that I'm doing recently, since I'm in the thick of this, is that mostly I'm letting things go, like especially housework. Like I kind of have a fairly regular schedule of housework that I try to keep up with. And if you watched my last vlog, you'll know that my house is hardly, Martha Stewart. It's hardly a showcase. It's not probably by most people's standards clean or tidy at all. But even maintaining it at that level takes a little bit of work on my part. And it's important for me to do that because my mental health is super affected by dirt and messes. And so I really do try to keep up with that, and have a pretty regular weekly schedule of housework that I do to keep up with it. But when things get really tough, when I have other things that I really have to tend to, housework is absolutely one of those things that I can let go. Like my mental health isn't so delicate around this issue that a few weeks or months of house mess is gonna really affect me. So one of the things that I let go, like if I were to take you out onto my stairs right now, they're just like covered with dog and cat hair. And normally I don't like that. And normally I don't let that happen. And I sweep them at least once a week. And it's just not happening right now. My bed isn't getting made every day. It just is, it just is what it is. That letting go of some of the housework is definitely freeing up some bandwidth and some space for me to take care of other things. On the other hand, something that I am actually taking on that is kind of like a homemaking activity anyway, is I've started baking again, which I haven't done for a really long time. And part of it, to be honest, is that we're in a financial situation where we're really trying to cut back on sort of extras. Not that food, baked goods are an extra, but trying to cut back in ways that don't super affect our quality of life, but that, could save a little bit of money. And we do eat a fair amount of bread and baked goods. And mostly right now what we do is buy them from the grocery store or a bakery. And I'm actually a good baker and I like baking. And so I thought maybe I'll try picking up baking again. And at first I was like, this is crazy, Marta. You have so much going on. You do not have time or bandwidth for baking. But one day recently I baked some bread. And as I was baking it, I realized that, this is actually really meditative and slowing. Like there's something very peaceful and meditative about mixing bread dough and kneading it and letting it rise and baking it. Like it didn't end up depleting my bandwidth at all. And in fact, it helped me slow down my day in a way that was really useful. And we had nice bread, which was also wonderful. So those are a couple of things that I'm doing right now to slow everything down, even though there are some things that I have to push through. But anyway, so I think that the dilemma for us when we're trying to decide whether we should slow down and quit, or slow down and then continue to push through, the dilemma is that I think a lot of us have a lot of shame about quitting things. This whole issue of abandoned projects, like I think a lot of us hold that like in our psyche, in our body, as a lot of shame and a sense of failure, and it really gets us down. This sense that we don't finish things, that we don't follow through with things, that we're fickle, that we're lazy, that we're not committed, that we're irresponsible. Like all of those things weigh on us, many of us, a lot. And so I think that those are some of the issues that we're faced with when we consider quitting something. On the other hand, when we push through, or what in the past when we have pushed through, often, this is true for me, and I suspect it is true for many of you as well, what happens is that we get burnt out. We have meltdowns. It stirs up more and more anxiety until we get to the point that we have to quit anyway, right? So that's sort of the tension, I think, when we're trying to decide whether to quit or whether to push through, is that both of those choices have, for many of us, certainly in our past, really kind of negative consequences that we still carry with us in our psyches. Next, I want to tell you a little bit about the situation that I'm in right now, that I find myself in right now. But I want to go and quickly look at the comments because a couple have been coming in. Charlie is here from France. Oh, how wonderful, Charlie. I'm glad that you're here. This is probably like a complete non sequitur because it doesn't really have anything to do with you unless you happen, like I am and like my husband is, happen to be a bicycle racing fan. But the Tour de France is starting tomorrow. It's actually starting in Copenhagen, and they'll be there for a couple of days, but then it comes to France. And we're huge Grand Tour bicycle racing fans. And so we will be, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but we will be watching the Tour de France. And one of the things that I love most about the Tour de France, one of the things that really got me hooked on it, is that if you watch the race, so much of it is viewed up from above, from cameras on a helicopter. And so you get to see just like the gorgeous French countryside. So anyway, that's my relationship to France right now. Romy says, Frozen anthem in this house to Let It Go, 100%. The thing that I will say about letting it go is that even that is a delicate balance, because like I said, there comes a tipping point where letting go of the housework frees up time and bandwidth for sure. But then there's a tipping point where the mess becomes intolerable and is actually depleting my bandwidth. So that's a tricky one for me, but I just pay attention to it. The key for me is to stop feeling shame about the mess and just pay attention to what is it doing to my sort of sensory sensitivities as opposed to triggering shame. And that took me years. It took me years to overcome the shame of messiness in my house. But for the most part, I have, and that has been huge. So if you can overcome shame, then letting it go for as long as you can. And then sometimes when I've let it go, and then that tipping point comes and the mess is too much, then actually cleaning becomes also a meditative act, sort of like baking. And then I'll just devote like an afternoon to it. And it's really soothing to, make calm out of the mess and to bring order to the chaos and create lovely spaces again. So that feels like a sort of win-win for me. But the key, as with everything in my mind, is not being driven by shame, but being driven by your own intrinsic, real sensory needs. Caroline says, I find the same solace in baking. definitely slows me down in a good way. Yeah, Carolyn, it's in fact this morning I set out all of the ingredients for a coffee cake that I want to make, and my goal is to make that as soon as this live stream is over. Maybe I'll post a picture in DDS, and then between my live stream and my YouTube mentors live stream called The Couples Table, which starts about an hour and a half after this ends, and which is sort of my comfort food. It's like what I like to do on Thursday afternoon is get in bed and watch The Couples Table. But I'm going to try to bake this coffee cake in between. And Ella is here and says, "Hi, everyone, tuning in from Indiana." Ella, I don't know if you know that I'm from Indiana. So, I haven't lived there for a very long time, since 1992. And I don't have family there anymore. My dad moved from Indiana to Vermont. But yeah, I grew up in Indiana. I went to high school and college in Indiana. Went to Earlham College in Richmond. I'm originally from Delphi, which is where I went to middle and high school. And before that, we lived in Lafayette. So, cool. Tell me where you're from. All right. Please keep the comments in the chat box coming. I try to tune them out for a little while at a time because otherwise I just find them distracting and then I lose my train of thought. But I always try to come back to them, and it's a really rich part of this live stream for me is interacting with you all in the comments. Okay, so my situation right now. So, as you probably know, I recently made the decision to commit to making a weekly vlog. And again, you should go watch the two that I've published so far, which explain sort of my thinking about this series of vlogs. But in a nutshell, what Jesse and I really want to do on this channel is make video essays. But video essays, it turns out, are a whole thing that require a lot of talent and know-how. And so on the way to making video essays, we've decided to start doing vlogs, which are just much smaller, much more modest and possible things to put out as sort of as practice on the way to the video essays. So that has been a couple of weeks ago. I published the first one, and that's my commitment right now, knock wood, we'll see, is to publish one a week. Basically until I'm ready to make the first video essay, which I'm hoping is going to be sometime in the fall. And those are coming out on Tuesdays. They're available to the Patreon on Mondays. They come out on Tuesdays at 9:00. So that's one of the things that I've got going on right now this summer. The second thing I've got going on is the weekly live stream, which sometimes I do with Jesse and sometimes I do alone. There's the new weekly live stream, which I just talked about briefly at the top of the show with Joel about low spoons cooking or managing in the kitchen with disability. And then the other thing that's going on all of this month, starting tomorrow, is the Tour de France. And like I said, we're sort of Grand Tour bicycle racing fanatics. And in fact, I want to make a whole video essay about it because there are actually, strangely enough, all kinds of interesting connections between Grand Tour bicycle racing and other things that I talk about. But anyway, that's happening this month, and Joel takes the first week off, and we do a little staycation, and we watch it. It's in the morning because it's because of the time difference. It's in the morning for us, so it's always done by about noon. So that feels really non-negotiable right now. And that all was sort of my vision for the summer, was I was gonna, and then of course there's all the things that I do in Divergent Design Studios, which is hosting a lot of peer support groups and running the interior and garden design lab and peer support group, and hosting a lot of what we call studio time, which is basically body doubling sessions, and trying to get a monthly workshop up and running each month. June I took off, but I'm committed to that. So anyway, I have a lot of responsibilities in Divergent Design Studios as well. But that's just sort of my baseline is DDS. Just taking care of DDS is my baseline, and I've been doing that since September 2021. We have an anniversary coming up, which is really exciting. And one other thing that I was hoping was going to be part of this summer was that I've been very slowly working with an accountant who is neurodivergent and who's a member of DDS, and that has been lovely because I have a lot of shame around money and accounting and not being able to understand it and not being able to see it. But I've been working very slowly with my accountant, who is super wonderful and patient, to sort of understand my financial situation, especially as this is the first year that I'm paying quarterly estimated taxes, and it turns out that I haven't been saving nearly enough for taxes, and it turns out that after I pay all of my expenses for the Spiral Lab and for the Divergent Design Studios and I pay my taxes, it turns out I'm making almost no money, which is kind of discouraging and frustrating because this is how I want to make a living. So one of the things that I was hoping to do this summer was to start making content on other platforms, to get back to Instagram, to get back to my newsletter, and to sort of talk up DDS and try to get more people to join, both because I need the money, and it is my job, but also because I'm really proud of it and it's an amazing community. So anyway, that was also going to be part of my sense of this summer. What changed all of that is that you probably don't know this, or maybe you do, but for the past 2 years, I have been pursuing a master's degree in religion at a local seminary. It's a super progressive Christian seminary that's affiliated with a very progressive denomination, like super progressive. Like the president of the seminary is a gay Native American man. So, and it's a complicated story of why I find myself pursuing a master's in religion at a local seminary. And just in a brief nutshell, the seminary is tuition free. So I knew it wasn't going to cost me anything to go. And I thought that I was having a couple of years ago sort of a dark night of the soul spiritually, and trying to figure out whether I could remain part of the very liberal Christian denomination that I used to be a part of. And that used to probably indicates to you that I've pretty much fallen away from the church entirely, largely because of everything that I have learned and studied in seminary, ironically. But I also thought that it would be an opportunity for me to pursue some lines of study and inquiry that I've been wanting to pursue, but that having sort of the structure of being in school, which is something that I'm really good at and I've always liked. I know lots of neurodivergent people find school really hard, but it's a place that I have always thrived. So I thought, I really want to understand more about this Protestant work ethic and its relationship to capitalism. And I'm also really interested in mysticism and its relationship to disability. So there were things in my mind that I thought, it would be really interesting to go to seminary and figure out in a kind of structured way. And that has been interesting and useful. But the other reason that I went to seminary to pursue this master's in religion was because it was during the pandemic. Neither Joel nor I had jobs that gave us access to unemployment benefits. He was a student at the seminary, actually, at the time, but was about to graduate. And we were basically living on student loans and public assistance. And he was about to graduate, and the only way that we could figure out how to keep afloat financially was for me to go to seminary and be able to take out student loans. And on top of that, I had quite a bit of consumer debt from a really terrible period during my divorce that I wanted to convert to student loan debt, because even though student loans are so onerous, they're way better than credit card debt. So anyway, long story short, I've been in school for a couple of years, part-time, and this last semester was no exception. I was taking 2 courses over the course of the semester. One was an independent study that I had created called Autistic Mystic, working with a professor who's just fantastic, who I really love. And then I was intending to take a 1-week summer intensive. I think it was scheduled for last week with the same professor about blues and jazz, which again is just something really interesting to me. And I feel really lucky that I get to study these things in a structured way with a really amazing professor, and also take out loans so that I could pay off some of my consumer debt and do a few nice things for my kids. So that's what I did last semester. I was doing the independent study. I was intending to take the 1-week summer intensive, but then things sort of snowballed last semester, and I asked if I could take an incomplete in the Autistic Mystic independent study, and was told that I could, but I misunderstood and thought that I would be able to work on that in the fall when I'm planning to take a leave of absence. And I thought I would be done with this blues and jazz course in one quick week. And then it turned out, for reasons I'm not completely sure I understand, that the blues and jazz week intensive turned into a 2-month-long summer independent study. And it turned out that in order to not be required to pay all my student loans back from the spring, which I can't do because I don't have them anymore, I had to finish the incomplete by August 1st. And I just found this out like a week ago. So suddenly I'm looking at a summer of being in a pretty intensive academic situation on top of all of these other commitments that I had already made. So that's my situation. And finally, I was working on, for my next vlog, for the vlog that's coming out next week on Tuesday, I had been working on having it be about my garden, which I've been working on really intensively all spring long. And I was really excited about doing a garden vlog. Jesse's doing a garden vlog. I thought, oh, it'll be so cool. They can come out together. But it turned out that this garden vlog was like becoming way bigger than I thought, and I was getting really mired down in it. And so it was starting to feel out of control. So just recently, in the last couple of days, I thought I have to sit down and make some decisions about what I can do and what I can't do, because I can't do all of this, but I have to do some of it. So let's see what's possible. So again, I have been literally in the last few days at the heart of this question. Like, I definitely have to slow down, letting some of the housework go, letting some things in the garden go, which is kind of sad and frustrating. Taking up a baking practice, which isn't taking that much time, but is helping to pace and slow down my life. But now I need to decide which things am I gonna just quit, and which things am I going to push through on, and which things am I going to sort of feel my way through and see how it goes. So that's my situation. And now what I want to do is talk to you about the decisions that I'm making sort of in real time and how I'm making those decisions. All right. So, but first I'm going to go look at your comments. Let's see. Caroline says, please do post a picture. I'm assuming you're talking there about the coffee cake. I'm also planning to bake after this some zucchini bread muffins. Nice. I just made banana bread the other day with this recipe that I just love from Mark Bittman. And we've been enjoying banana bread for a couple days now. Amelia's here from Vermont. Nice to see you, Amelia. My dad lives in Vermont now. He used to live in Indiana, but he moved maybe a decade ago now to Vermont. He's near Woodstock, in South Pomfret, or actually not even in, like on Cloudland Road near Woodstock, and we go there a couple times a year. I love Vermont a lot. It's beautiful. Ella says, really very cool. I'm an Illinois transplant, been in northern Indiana for about 15 years. You know, Ella, I left Indiana in the early 90s, came to Philly, and part of the reason I left was because it was just not a very hospitable place to be a queer person. And my ex-wife and I wanted to start a family, which we did. And I think that it's probably still not a terribly hospitable place to be a queer person. But I have to say that there's a lot about Indiana that I really miss. I really miss the big open skies and, you know, the like cornfields to the horizon and the little yellow butterflies and the Queen Anne's lace and the ditches full of tiger lilies. Like there's a lot that is really beautiful about Indiana that I really do miss. And I never go back anymore because I don't have anybody there. Anyway, yeah. Amelia says, and I have been finding comfort in baking, treat making lately too. Recently made lemon curd and meringues. Oh my God, lemon curd is one of my favorite things to make because it seems so fancy, but it's actually really pretty easy to make. And I just love it. It's so yummy. Romy says, Autistic Mystic sounds amazing. I want to know more. Please do a vlog about it. Actually, I have this idea that eventually I'm going to make a whole video essay about it, to be honest. And I also want to bring, I don't know if you follow Queer Nature on Instagram. There are a couple, So and Pinar, and they are both sort of autistic mystics and have written quite a bit about mysticism that I'm really interested in and using in this independent study. And I really want to bring them onto the live stream to talk about being, I don't know if they both identify as autistic, but definitely sort of neurodivergent. And yes, I will share more about that for sure, because it is something that I feel really passionate about. I just really didn't want to finish this summer, but there you have it. Caroline says, oh, wow, that sounds like a lot. Convoluted academic schedules really tripped me up when I was in college, for sure. Yeah, this is, like I said, I'm actually a pretty good student. I mean, actually a very good student. Like it's the one place in my life that I have really excelled. And I have so many degrees. It's kind of absurd. None of which I actually use in any sort of professional or income producing capacity, but all of which very much inform my work and myself and my life. And I have no regrets about any of them. But this is literally the first time that I've taken an incomplete ever, you know, through a bachelor's degree, a JD, a couple of master's degrees. I've literally never taken an incomplete. And I thought, oh, I'll take the incomplete, I'll take a leave of absence, and then I'll be able to work on this in a like nice, slow, leisurely way. And it just wasn't meant to be. Jay Chalice 3 says, hi, nice to see you. Happy you're here. Kieran says, okay, so who wants to share a lemon curd recipe with me? Because I got a whole bag of lemons sitting on my kitchen counter, sitting here looking at me. Awesome. Kieran, I will find one that I like and I'll post it, maybe in the interior and garden design lab on DDS. All right. But yeah, my daughter makes lemon curd all the time. And so I will either find a recipe that I like or ask her for hers. But yeah, that's a great thing to do with lemons for sure. Or lemon bars, which I guess is basically lemon curd, like on some sort of short crust, right? All right. Thank you all for all these comments. This makes me so happy when people put comments in the chat box. All right. So that's my situation. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the decisions I've made and the process of decision making that I've made, and that's the part where I hope I might be helpful to you. But if you have questions or you have dilemmas of your own, or if you have insights of your own around how you make these decisions, please put them in the chat. I guess the first thing that I will say, and I mentioned this before, but this is so important, is that I think that in order to make these decisions in a way that is going to nourish you and help you accomplish your goals and keep you on an even keel and keep you from burnout and keep you from meltdowns, etc., you really have to be on a journey of disrupting shame. And I have we talk about this a lot in DDS about disrupting shame. And I do a regular workshop inside of DDS about the role of shame in neurodivergent lives. And I think just even understanding the role of shame in our lives can be really liberating. Just the insight of it can be really liberating. And so the last time I did that workshop in DDS, I actually did it as a live stream because I just think it's so important and I wanted to make it accessible to an even wider audience. So I did it as a live stream, and then we went and did small group discussions inside DDS. But the presentation part was available as a live stream, and it's on my channel if you want to go watch that and just learn more about my thoughts about how central shame is to our disorder and to our dysfunction. Like, in a nutshell, I really believe that most of what is disordered or dysfunctional about being neurodivergent stems much less from our neurology and much more from the shame that has been imposed on us. And that when we disrupt that shame, we can start to get into a place where we can actually notice what's going on in our psyche, in our bodies, in our relationships, and make healthy decisions for ourselves, as opposed to being reactive and triggered and driven by shame, because shame is a form of trauma. So I'm not going to go into all of that. There's a whole video, a live stream video about it that I highly recommend you watch. And if it's something you're interested in learning more about, we talk about these things all the time at our 3 weekly peer support groups in DDS. So I encourage you to join if you haven't already. But so that's sort of the caveat, is that all of this becomes a little bit easier when you already have some insight about the role that shame plays in your life, and you're on your way, you're on a journey of learning how to disrupt that shame. And in fact, the new metaphor that I'm using in my own mind, related to this garden vlog that I wanted to make, is that we should compost shame, that we should transform it in the same way that composting transforms food scraps and garbage into rich earth that we can grow in. And part of the reason that vlog kind of got out of control is that I haven't managed to compost all of my shame around my garden and around my compost. But also because I realized I'm trying to make a video essay, and that is a whole video essay. Compost shame is a whole video essay. And the whole point of these vlogs was that they were just going to be little teeny practice bits on the way to video essays. So one of the first things that I decided had to go was to quit the garden vlog. I have so much footage. I've put so much work into it. The whole little opening sequence is kind of done, and I'm really kind of proud of it. I'm hoping to learn new editing skills through these vlogs, and I did some cool things in the opening sequence of this garden vlog. But then I was just faced with all of this footage of all of this work that I had done in the garden, and I couldn't pull it together, and I really didn't want to quit on it because I was really committed to having to being ahead. I really hoped that vlog number 3 would be done and scheduled before vlog number 2 went live. That totally didn't happen. Because vlog number 3 was going to be this garden vlog. Vlog number 2 went live Tuesday, 2 days ago. And there was no way I could get the garden vlog done. And there was no way that I could get another vlog done by Tuesday. So that has been frustrating and disappointing, but I really had to quit the garden vlog. Not forever. Like, I do really think that there's an interesting kernel of an idea in there, but it's going to be a long time. Like, even when I get to making video essays, that's probably down the line. So I did a lot of work, and it's kind of for naught right now, but I'm not feeling enormous amounts of shame about it, because I do know that eventually I will come back to it, and I no longer really believe in wasted time or anything like that. And another thing that I'm having to sort of let go of is that there's a bunch of plants that were given to me, or a couple of little things that I bought at the farmer's market that are just sitting out in the back and really need to be potted. And I even have the potting soil, but some of them just might die. I just might not get them all in the ground or into pots. And I'm just sort of having to let that go. And I do feel some shame about that. Not exactly shame, but like really acute regret, because I kind of don't like to let living things die. But anyway, that was one of the things that I just had to let go, was this garden vlog, which means that I'm not sure. I hope that I'm going to have a vlog ready for Tuesday, but I'm not sure. I've been working on something else that's much quicker and simpler. But I resisted. Part of the reason that that I'm not further along with what I'm actually going to do for vlog 3 is because it took me a really long time to decide that I'm going to not do this garden vlog. But when I really sat down and thought about it, I realized that some of the things that I'm feeling are really important signals to me that this is not something that is gonna go anywhere, is gonna be fruitful. Even if I push through, it's not going to be fruitful. And some of the feelings that I was feeling that clue me in that even pushing through isn't going to be fruitful are that I was feeling like dread, not just about the garden vlog, but about the garden. Like, I was literally not going out into the garden because I was feeling this sense of heaviness and dread and shame about it. And so, like, that's just a really big sign to me when I'm feeling that kind of dread and anxiety and shame about something, that it's like cutting me off from my capacity to actually work and make progress. And so what was happening is I was just spinning my wheels. I was spending a lot of time thinking about how I should be working on the garden vlog. And, I really love editing. I love it. Like, that's one of the reasons that I want to do these vlogs and I want to make video essays. But I wasn't doing it. Like, I was just too overwhelmed. And that's another sign that when you're avoiding something that you actually really love to do, that's a good sign that, like, nothing good is going to come of pushing through. You need to just let this one go for now. And what helps me is to know that it's not to think of abandoning it, but to think of parking it, like parking it in the future. Like, if you could just like drive it into the future, park it, and come back to the present, that's really helpful to me. Like, it's not going anywhere. The clips are all there. The nicely edited little intro that I made is still there. It'll still be there. Maybe it'll be nice to make this vlog or a video essay about composting shame in the middle of winter when I'm really missing my garden. So anyway, yeah, so basically pushing through was hurting everything, including the garden and my ability to enjoy it, and the vlog wasn't getting done. So like sometimes I will find myself thinking, oh, but I have to. I have no choice. I have to push through. There's no other option. But then you have to ask yourself, but is anything actually getting done? Like, you say that you have to push through, but you're actually not accomplishing anything. And you say, I can't do this other thing until this thing is done. But like, sometimes if you let go of the thing that you're having such a hard time with, you'll at least get something done, right? So that's my theory. I'm going to give up on the garden vlog. Yeah. So what I wrote in my notes is, if you insist on pushing through, but you're not making any progress, that's a sign not to feel ashamed, but that you need really to let go of this thing and take some rest. And other signs for me are dread, shame. When I do let go, what I feel in those situations is just enormous relief. Like when I do decide to quit, and if what you feel is just relief, then that's always a good sign too, I think. And then the other thing that I have to let go of for the summer, which is frustrating for sure, but I just know it's true, is that, as I was saying earlier, I was really hoping to go back to Instagram, go back to my publishing my newsletter, kind of getting out there again to try to talk up Divergent Design Studios and grow Divergent Design Studios so that it was producing more income for me. And this is something that I don't like talking about. I think many of us don't like talking about this, because like mostly why I do this work is because I love it and because I love helping people and I want to make the world a better place. And I feel so honored to be able to put my ideas into the world and have them received so generously, and in such a heartfelt way. I like to make a difference in people's lives. I believe that the work I do is part of a liberation movement. All of those things, super important to me. And to be honest, if I were independently wealthy, I would do all of this work anyway, and I would not think about them also needing to earn a living from it. But I'm not independently wealthy. And yeah, I mean, it's not that I intrinsically need to make money, but because I actually need to make money, the fact that I'm not making any money or very little money is really frustrating and disappointing. And the only reason that it really super matters right now, because Joel does have a job now, and we are financially secure in ourselves. But we have 4 adult children between us, and we are financially helping to support 3 of them. And in particular, my 19-year-old son, who is just starting to launch his life. He's not going to college, so he's like really launching himself into adulthood, really bravely and really creatively. And I'm so proud of him. But he needs and deserves as much support as if he were going to college. And I want to be in a position to be able to do that for him. So even though Joel and I are fine living on his income, and I'm fine with taking things slowly and building my own business, except that my son has some pretty significant financial needs, and there are other sources potentially for supporting him. He does have another mom, but it's not completely clear what she's going to be able or willing to do, or what kinds of strings are going to be attached to that kind of support. So that's where my financial anxiety comes from, is simply feeling a really acute need to support my son as he launches his young adult life. And I know lots of you are young adults who are living at home or are being helped out by parents. And so I feel it acutely from both ends, as your friend and as the parent of young adults in a similar situation. So, like I said, I don't really like talking about that. But the truth is that this is how I hope to make my living, through Divergent Design Studios and through this YouTube channel, and to be able to support my son and my daughter and Joel's daughter. So again, that makes letting go of trying to grow DDS a difficult choice. But I think that realistically, if I try to get back to Instagram, which I haven't been on for months and months and has been just a blessed relief to not be there, and if I try to put energy into writing a newsletter on a regular basis, That's just going to take up so much bandwidth that I just don't have. So, so that's something that I'm going to have to let go until the fall, and it'll be fine. It will be totally fine. We'll figure it out. I think that I'm going to be able to take out a signature loan from my credit union, and it's all going to be fine. Not that I'm happy about taking on more debt, but I'm happy to do it for my kids, for sure. So those are the two things that have to go. The garden vlog, staying on top of the vlogs, and growing Divergent Design Studios through making content in places that I haven't been focusing on lately. Hey, I'm on my live stream. Sorry. What do you need? Probably another half an hour. That was my son. He's really into cars and is fixing up an old Lexus, a low stance old Lexus from like the 90s. And he's moving garages today. He had a garage over in New Jersey that was pretty expensive, and he found something really close, super cheap. And so he's in the midst of moving. And I'm not sure what he needed, but it can wait for half an hour. Let's see. All right. So those are the things that I have to let go. The things that I have to do, that I must push through, on are the schoolwork. Like the consequences of not growing DDS are not terrific. Like it would be really great to be earning some more money. But I can figure there are other things I can do, right? I can take out a loan. I have a credit card, blah, 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 blah. The consequences of not finishing my schoolwork are really dire, because if I don't maintain a part-time schedule, if I don't maintain 6 credits in the spring term, then suddenly the student loans that I took out for the spring term come due immediately. Like not just like the payment schedule will start, but that I will be required to pay them back in full because I wasn't actually a half-time student. So that is like sometimes you have to make decisions about what to focus on based on sort of how dire the consequences are. And under capitalism, sometimes the consequences are really dire, and that's where you have to put your focus. And it's not fair and it's not fun, but at least it gives you some clarity, right, about what you have to choose and what you can't choose. So I'm going to finish the schoolwork by the deadline of August 1st because I have to. But in addition to that, I really want to. Like it's frustrating and disappointing that I'm not going to be able to put all of this off that I couldn't finish the blues and jazz course in 1 week in June and then put off the independent study until the fall. That's disappointing. I really was so looking forward to having some spaciousness this summer. And I had this whole vision of what our summer was going to be like. And it's not going to be like that at all. And that's frustrating and disappointing, but it's not dreadful. And it's not like now that I've sort of worked through it, I had some fairly acute anxiety when all of this happened, when finally it was communicated to me that no, I couldn't put off the incomplete, et cetera, and that the supposedly week-long summer intensive was now a 2-month independent study. Like when I first learned all of that was a really bad day. And pretty much what I did is like got in bed, canceled some things and got in bed. And I did feel some dread for sure and a lot of anxiety. But given the fact that I don't really have a choice, and given the fact that I'm super interested, like all of the reading that I'm doing for both courses, for the blues and jazz course, there's a lot of music to listen to and films to watch. And like, that's all going to be great. It's just not in the time frame that was ideal. But I am super interested in it, and I'm going to get a lot out of it, and most of it will be useful to me down the line. So, so that's the thing that I have to push through. And again, paying attention, like, yes, there was some dread. Yes, there was some anxiety, but I was able to sort of muster the resources, support. I got some suggestions in DDS. Last week we were talking about medication in peer support. We always have a topic. We have 3 general peer support groups, and there's one topic that we discuss at all of those. And last week the topic was medication. And I learned some things about some anxiety medication that I might look into. The other thing, though, that I did was I decided that if I'm going to give up the garden vlog, I'm going to make something quick and dirty for next week, and combine that with creating a space in which I can do all of this schoolwork. So the topic of my vlog of next week is this studio, the one that I'm sitting in right now, which was, again, if you've watched my vlog from last week, or from this week, from 2 days ago, was quite a mess. Like off camera, it was quite a mess and was starting to get me down. And I decided, it wouldn't take me that long to just clean this studio up, whip it into shape, make it be a place that I can feel calm to do all of this work in. And earlier today, what I did was, and this is something that really helps me when I'm trying to sort through like what has to happen, what's actually possible, and especially when there's like a school assignments or work assignments, and like it's going to have to happen in a sort of linear fashion, but I don't really think in a very linear fashion. It helps me to just like put a calendar on the wall and just see it. So, oh dear, somebody is in the chat. So I'm just going to ban this person. Sorry about that, you guys. I'm supposed to have somebody, I don't know how to, I'm supposed to pick somebody to be a moderator. So that doesn't happen. And maybe this is the first time I've been doing these live streams for like 7 or 8 months, and nobody has ever bombed the chat like that. But from now on, I will find somebody to be my moderator. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying is that this morning I did that. I like put everything up on the wall, and I'm going to show you a picture because it really helped me to like sort of reverse engineer the deadlines of what needs to be read by when and what needs to be written by when, and when all the vlogs are, when all the live streams are. And to be honest, when I put it all together, here's the picture. Let me see if I can do this. No, that's not it. Sorry. There's the picture. As I'm looking at it over my monitor, and here's, let's see. Here's a closer up picture of it. So I just made a calendar, and I put all the deadlines and all the assignments on the left side where it says school, and on the YouTube side is like the live streams and the vlogs. And that's going to help me a lot. When I put it all out like that, I realized that, I thought I was going to be able to keep up my YouTube schedule 100% and do all the schoolwork and do the Tour de France, which is non-negotiable. Like that's like one thing I'm not going to give up. That's a big part of, like, basically that's our summer vacation, is watching the Tour de France. So I'm not going to give that up. And that actually makes me so happy that it will generate bandwidth. Once I put it all out there like that, I realized, this is a lot. And originally I thought, I can do all of my YouTube as I had planned it over the summer and I can do the schoolwork. And now I'm not completely sure. Like, it may be that I'm going to miss some vlogs. It may be that I'm going to miss some live streams. We'll see. But now that I know, like, it's not going to feel like when it comes time, like I should have posted a vlog on a Tuesday and like Monday night I realize I'm not going to be able to and feel crappy about it. Like, now I can sort of like several days ahead say, yeah, that it's just not going to happen on Tuesday, and you all will understand. And same with the live stream. Like, if I have a deadline on a Thursday and I just can't pull together a live stream, you'll all understand, but I will have been prepared ahead of time for that possibility, and I'm not going to like get mired in shame about it. So let's see, what else did I have? I think that's mostly what I had. Let me go look at see what you guys have in the chat. Olivia says, super hyped for the Autistic Mystic video essay. Also, I really want that recipe as well. Okay, cool. Yeah, one thing that occurred to me is that maybe I can post some things, especially about that independent study in DDS on the community blog. I don't know if it'll happen, but I'll definitely post the recipe for sure. I don't think that the Autistic Mystic video essay is going to happen super soon, but there's going to be a paper by August 1st because there just has to be. And I'm going to try to write the paper in a way that is closer to a video script than it is to a traditional academic paper. And the professor I'm working with will be completely open to that. Kieran says, I have so many feelings about this shame too. I often talk to people about how the school system is incredibly traumatizing, especially for ND folks, whether diagnosed, clocked or not. Yeah, Kieran, like I said, school has always been sort of my solace. It's been the place where I excel, but I know that that's really unusual, and that lots of neurodivergent people have a really hard time in school, and I know that certainly for my son, school was traumatic. And in fact, we pulled him out at the end of his freshman year of high school and home/unschooled him for the rest of high school. And he's not going to college because that's just not how he learns. He's a really bright kid, really interesting kid, really creative, has a great life ahead of him. But the whole academia is just not the way that he learns. And it was just really traumatic for him. Caroline says, that is sad about the seedlings. We throw hundreds of seedlings in the compost at the farm I work at. It still feels sad, but the seedlings will regenerate as soil. Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. And it's possible that sometimes when I let go, like when I let go of the should, when I let go of the like, oh my God, I've got to get those plants in the pots. Like the anxiety about it and the shame about it actually decreases my bandwidth to the point where I just can't do it, even though it's not really that big of a deal. Whereas when I let go and just decide, okay, well, maybe some of them are going to die, then suddenly it like opens something up in me. And the big stumbling block for many days was that there was a big bag of potting soil in the back of the car, and I just kept not bringing it. Like, it was a matter of just carrying the potting soil from the car to the backyard, and like I would go to do it, and then the keys wouldn't be hanging on the hook, and I'd be like, ugh, I don't know where the car keys are, and then I would get distracted, and suddenly I was doing something else and the potting soil was still in the back of the car, and then like that happened multiple times, and then I started feeling like anxiety and shame about the fact that I couldn't even get the potting soil from the car to the backyard. But I did manage to get the potting soil out of the car and into the backyard. So now that I've let go, like I've just accepted that some of these seedlings might die, now I feel like maybe I'm going to be able to do it one evening soon. I have been watering them, so they're not dead yet. But yeah, that's what's going to happen. If they don't make it, they'll just go right into the compost, about which I also have some shame, but I'm working on it. Carly says, my youngest is also a 19-year-old boy living at home too. He is working, but it is so hard for kids their age with housing, vehicles, etc., being so much more expensive right now. Yeah, Carly, I feel you. That's exactly the situation, is that my son is living at home, and all of his friends from high school, he had a really tight circle of friends who he was really close with and who are really sort of his posse. They're all off at college, and a couple of them, the closest ones, are off at college together. So, they've left. They're moving on with their things. They're living not even in a dorm, but in an apartment. They're both in school in New York City, and interestingly, an apartment was cheaper than living in the dorm. And he goes and visits them, but it's not the same. And he's just he feels stuck. He feels like he hasn't moved on to the next phase of his life. He's living at home. What he really needs to do is make new friends in the car community that he's really interested in. And he does have a job, and he's working really hard, a good job at REI, which is a great place for him because he's a very outdoorsy guy. And that's a pretty good company to work for as, retail jobs go. But he's not ashamed of living at home, and he's not ashamed of us. But I think that the community that he needs to enter into is a more adult community, to be honest. And he's a very kind of adult 19-year-old in a lot of ways. And it's just like he doesn't feel like he can bring friends home to his parents' basement, He really, in order to move into this new phase of his life and build community, which he really needs, he really misses because his friends are in college, he needs a place. And right now in Philadelphia, and it's also complicated by the fact that he would rather not live in the city, which feels loud and dangerous. And he's a black boy, so it is actually really dangerous to live in the city. And so we can't find any apartments studio apartments for under $1,000, and more like $1,200 and $1,300. And it's just it's blowing my mind. Anyway, yeah, it's just really hard to be young. Yeah, so many of you who are watching this and who are in the community are yourselves young people. And I don't need to tell you that it's just really hard right now. So you can empathize with my kids. My daughter's doing okay. But she's older. She's 25. All right. Well, I think that, what happened? Ban. Oh, I see there's more in here. They keep coming back with, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's somebody spamming the channel. Some bot is spamming the channel. I thought I had fixed it, but there were some more. Carly says, don't feel bad. I am impressed and thankful that you do this channel at all. Well, thank you. And like I said, it's such a joy to me. Such a relief to me. How I spend my days is exactly how I want to spend my days. I feel so lucky to get to do the work that I do, to get to hang out with the people I get to hang out with, to build community, be creative, make art, all of that. Think big ideas and have platforms to put them into the world. It's a dream come true for me. And on top of that, it is really the only alternative that I feel like I have at this point. And I've talked about this in previous live streams as well, about how disabled I am in any kind of traditional workplace. And I felt terrible about that for a long time, and really accepted sort of the narrative that, I'm just lazy or incompetent or whatever. But the truth is I'm just disabled, and I can't work in any kind of consistent long-term way and make a living in the traditional workplace. So I'm doing on this channel and in DDS I'm doing work that I love, that fulfills me, that feels liberatory, that feels part of a necessary movement, and has the potential to help me earn a living. So I'm really grateful for that, but it's just sort of awkward, right? To have to ask people to financially support me. But I don't know why. Like, I think about that a lot. Like, why is it awkward to say, please support my channel? Because I want to make a living doing this. Anyway, please support my channel by becoming a patron on our Patreon. And also by joining DDS. Even if you join at one of the lower rates, it helps. Everything helps. So I think that's that's it for the comments, and I think that's it for my notes. And so I don't know if that was helpful at all to sort of hear my process. I guess in a nutshell, if you feel enormous dread, if you're completely bogged down, if you're mired in shame and anxiety, you're spinning your wheels and you're trying to press on, but nothing is actually getting done, that's a really good sign that you should just quit whatever it is you're doing if you possibly can. And if you feel relief upon the decision to quit, that's also a really good sign that that was not something that you should push through on. Whereas if there's a situation where the consequences will be really dire if you don't push through, and you feel like you can let go of other things to open up some bandwidth and resources, and you can sort of assess what's possible. Hopefully it's also something that you want to do. Then I think as long as you can sort of be generous and easy with yourself and assume that people in your community are going to support you, then I think you can try to push through slowly. So that's my strategy. All right. Oh, here's a couple more comments. Ugh. I guess it's this bot keeps coming with something new. Moira says, what you do here is so valuable. A very big thank you from me. Oh, thank you, Moira. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate your steady support. Like, it means a lot to me that you come every Thursday and leave me comments a lot. Anyway, here we go. Caroline says, thank you for sharing today. It was very relatable to hear your decision-making process and helpful insights. Yep, thanks. I'm glad. I'm really glad that it's helpful. Sometimes I feel like at the end of a live stream that I've just sort of meandered all over the place and I'm not sure if I've said anything intelligible or useful. But I hope that there's something in here that you can pull out that will be useful to you as well. And Kieran says, thank you so much for your time, Marta. I always love the way you frame things. You're helping me figure out how to embrace that slug life. Love and appreciate this content so much. Oh, thank you, Kieran. That goes a long way, I have to say, as well. Just knowing that is making a difference for sure. So Whitney says, thank you for all you do, Marta. Are you able to ban that account entirely instead of... I thought so. Whitney, it's like I ban it and it bans a section of them, but then another round pops up. I'm wondering if it's like multiple bots. Anyway, I will figure that out. Like I'm part of a YouTube Mighty network actually called Just Create More, where I can ask some questions about that. And they've all told me you need to have a moderator who can do that stuff for you. And it's literally never happened. Like I've done so many of these and that's literally never happened before. But I'll figure out what we can do to make that not be a problem next time for sure. And if anybody's interested in being a moderator, it wouldn't have to be something that you did every single Thursday, but if when you're here, you would be interested in being in a moderator role, Yeah, is it helpful if we report the comments? I'm not sure. I mean, it can't hurt. Um, but why don't we just wait? I'm gonna go right to my. Well, I'm gonna go make my coffee cake. But I'm gonna. In fact, the live stream that I watch at 4 o'clock at the couples table is by the leaders of the YouTubers Mighty Network, and so I can just ask them probably at the live stream what I should do about that. So, all right, I'm gonna go and make my coffee cake, and then watch my couples table live stream with Heather Ramirez and Tom Buck, and then yeah, Whitney says they pop up regularly on other live streams I watch, and it's really annoying for the creators already managing so much. No time for spam. Yeah. Like I said, I'm surprised that it's never happened here before. So finally, sometimes there's things that you should do, and then you don't do them until you have to, and that's one of those. This is one of those situations. Olivia says, this was great. I struggle a lot with those kinds of decisions in this framework, and just hearing you talk about it helps with the frustration. I'm so glad to hear that, Olivia. And we could probably commiserate about academia and academic deadlines, because I know that you're also working on a much bigger project than what I'm doing. I guess that there was one other piece. The other piece that I wanted, the other distinction that I meant to make, and maybe I did, I can't even remember at this point, is the difference between shame and dread and anxiety, which are always really negative emotions that we are always going to go out of our way to avoid. And that when you're feeling shame and dread and anxiety, extreme anxiety, that's almost always a good sign that nothing good is going to come of pushing through. But I like to distinguish that set of emotions from frustration and disappointment, sadness. Those are a really different set of emotions from shame and dread and extreme anxiety. Frustration, disappointment, and mild anxiety are just really, really normal human emotions that are bearable. The first set are unbearable, and you need to do whatever you can. Let go of whatever you can. Quit whatever you can. That is going to help those things go away, at least for the short term. Whereas frustration, disappointment, sadness, and even some mild anxiety are bearable. Those are just normal human emotions. And that's what I realized about this school situation, was that I had this vision for my summer, and I'm really disappointed that that's not, and frustrated that that's not how my summer's going to go. But like, I can cope with that. I'm resilient enough. I can cope with frustration and disappointment. I can adjust. Right? So now I'm going to have a really nice fall because I'm going to take a leave of absence. I'm going to have no school obligations at all. The weather's going to be really nice. My garden is still going to be a nice place to be. So that's another distinction that I think is helpful to make. Like, are these unbearable feelings and emotions that I really need to do away with? Or are these just bearable, normal, human emotions that are negative and uncomfortable, but that like just makes you part of the human family? Like that's just life, right? Like, I don't think that probably trauma is just life. Like probably there are a few lives that aren't touched by trauma, but I think that that's not ideal at all. But as for sadness and disappointment, like that's just, I don't even think that I want my life to be completely free of all negative and uncomfortable emotions. So anyway, if that's helpful at all, that's another way that I try to frame these decisions. All right, I'm going to stop babbling. It's been great to have you here. I'm always so thrilled that you guys actually watch and that you stick through. Do click the like button. That really helps with my channel. I am trying to grow this channel because I will eventually make money from this channel in multiple ways. but only if it grows, and the algorithm will help the channel grow if it thinks that you really like these videos. So leave some comments, click the like button. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you know when things are coming out. And many of you I will see in DDS soon, and if not, next week. I don't have no idea what I'm doing or if Jesse's going to be here, but we'll figure something out. All right. Olivia says, for sure, lots to commiserate about my summer also not going as I hoped. Yep. We'll definitely catch up on DDS soon. Okay, Olivia. All right. Bye, everybody. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this.